Have you ever wondered what secrets lurk in the shadows of Perth's abandoned places? Today, we're diving into the top 10 haunted, forgotten sites around Perth, Western Australia, where restless spirits and chilling mysteries refuse to rest. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear might just keep you up at night. 1. Fremantle Art Center, Fremantle. She had always been there. At least, that's what the night guard said. Once a 19th century lunatic asylum, the Fremantle Art Center stands in eerie defiance of time. Its limestone walls have absorbed the screams of those long gone, the echo of tortured minds never truly silenced. Locals whisper about a woman in white, gliding silently through the upper hallways. Some say she was a patient, institutionalized for postpartum depression, abandoned by her family, and left to rot in a cell without windows. In 2014, a photographer capturing the building at dusk reported a chilling encounter. Reviewing his shots, he found a pale, translucent figure standing by a window, one that had been bricked up for decades. The area was sealed. No one had been there. Visitors have described sudden drops in temperature, the overpowering scent of old medicine, and whispers brushing against their ears. But the strangest part? Room 4. Multiple guests have fainted inside without explanation. One woman claimed she felt hands grip her shoulders, though she was entirely alone. Is she trying to reach out? Or is she warning us to stay away? 2. Sunset Hospital, Dalkeith. By day, Sunset Hospital is a crumbling shell, quiet, forgotten. But after dark, it breathes. Once a state-run facility for the elderly and terminally ill, this abandoned hospital in Dalkeith holds more than just decaying walls and peeling paint. Nurses used to speak in hushed tones about the West Wing, where patients often passed away in pain, some left alone in their final moments. It's there that the hauntings began. In 2016, a group of urban explorers captured footage of an empty hallway, until one frame revealed a shadowy figure at the end, tall, unmoving. When they returned moments later, the corridor was empty, but the air turned ice cold. Locals now avoid the grounds. They talk about lights flickering at night, the smell of antiseptic drifting on the wind, and, most disturbingly, the sound of a woman softly humming an old lullaby. One former staff member confessed, "We all knew not to enter room 12 after midnight. That's where she lingers, still waiting." But waiting for what? Or who? 3. Point Peron Bunkers, Rockingham. Hidden among the coastal cliffs of Rockingham, the Point Peron bunkers sit in silence, cold concrete reminders of World War II. But silence doesn't mean peace. Built to defend the coastline, these bunkers once buzzed with soldiers, drills, and secrets. Now, all that remains are hollow chambers and the whispers of something left behind. Locals say a young soldier died during a collapsed training exercise, buried alive beneath tons of rubble. His body was never recovered. In 2020, a pair of hikers exploring the tunnels reported hearing rhythmic footsteps behind them, boots hitting stone. They turned, flashlights shaking. No one was there. The air grew thick. Then came the cough, deep, human, choking. Some nights, passers-by claim to hear a voice shouting orders from within the bunkers. Others say they've seen a silhouette standing at the cliff's edge, unmoving, staring out to sea, then vanishing. Was he left behind? Or is he still on duty, guarding something none of us were meant to find? 4. The Old York Hospital, York. Perched on a quiet hill in the historic town of York, the Old York Hospital looks almost peaceful. until you step inside. Built in 1896, this red brick relic once cared for the sick and dying during outbreaks of typhoid and influenza. But with death came something else, something that never left. Nurses often spoke of children who passed too soon, their cries echoing down the halls at night. In 2018, a paranormal investigation team set up cameras in the old children's ward. What they caught was chilling. A small wooden ball rolled across the floor on its own. Moments later, a child's laughter cut through the silence, though not a single living soul was there. Tourists report flickering lights, unseen hands tugging their clothes, and the eerie feeling of being watched from the shadows. One guest swears she heard a lullaby playing from an empty room, even though the building had no power. And always, always, the faint sound of a child calling out, "Mom?" But in this place of forgotten sorrow, no mother ever answers. 5. Mlands Brickworks. Mlands. Once a thriving industrial site, the Mlands. Brickworks now stands in eerie silence, its towering kilns like tombstones against the sky. Built in the early 20th century, this abandoned factory was the backbone of Perth's expansion. But behind the progress lay tragedy. In 1943, a young worker fell into one of the burning kilns. His body was never recovered. They say the fire raged for hours, and he was never seen again. Decades later, ghost hunters entered the site after dusk. Inside Kiln 3, their equipment picked up sudden temperature drops and distorted whispers on audio. One voice, barely audible, kept repeating, "Help me, I'm still here." Locals walking past the grounds at night report the smell of smoke, even on windless evenings. Some claim to see a figure pacing along the top of the kiln tower, vanishing the moment they look up. The brickworks may be long shut down, but something, or someone, still burns inside. 6. Swanborn Hospital, Mount Claremont. They called it a place of healing, but for many, Swanborn Hospital was a prison of the mind and a gateway to something darker. Built in the early 1900s as a psychiatric asylum, Swanborn Hospital witnessed decades of suffering behind locked doors. Electroshock therapy, isolation rooms, and forgotten patients left to decay in silence. And silence, it seems, never truly left. In 2015, drone footage captured something chilling. What looked like a figure standing motionless at a third-story window of the long-abandoned Ward Z. The footage went viral. Authorities claimed it was a trick of the light, but those who've been there say otherwise. Former security guards have reported screams echoing through the halls, short, sudden, human. Others speak of gurneys moving on their own, and shadows slipping between doorways that haven't opened in years. One urban explorer wrote, "I felt like the walls were watching me. Then I heard it, someone whispering my name, but I was alone." At Swanborn, the mind may heal, but the soul, it lingers. 7. Swan Brewery. Ruins, Perth. Beneath Perth's city lights, along the edge of the Swan River, lie the decaying remains of the old Swan Brewery, a place soaked in more than just history. Built in the 1800s, atop sacred Noongar land, the site was once used as a women's home, then a hospital, before becoming a brewery. But long before the first brick was laid, the Noongar people warned, this ground was a resting place, and it should never be disturbed. In 1989, during redevelopment, construction workers reported bizarre accidents, tools vanishing, machinery failing without cause. One worker claimed he saw figures in the shadows, watching from the bush. That night, he refused to return. Photographs taken at the ruins often reveal anomalies. Blurs shaped like people, lights with no source. A local tour guide once fainted after hearing a deep voice whisper in his ear, "Leave." He was completely alone. The brewery has since been partially restored, but even polished floors can't cover what lies beneath. Some say the land remembers. Others know it never forgets. 8. South Fremantle Power Station, North Coogee. It was once a beacon of modern industry. Now, the South Fremantle Power Station looms like a haunted cathedral by the sea. Abandoned since the 1980s, this massive concrete shell draws thrill seekers and ghost hunters alike. But many who enter don't stay long. They speak of a darkness that isn't just from the shadows, but something watching, waiting. In 2007, a group of teens exploring the upper level heard footsteps above them, heavy, deliberate, but the floor above had collapsed years before. One of them recorded audio, and when played back later, a voice whispered clearly, "Get out." Graffiti artists report cold spots, even on hot days. Cameras die without warning. And deep within the turbine hall, some say they've seen a figure in an old electrician's uniform walking between rusted panels, only to vanish into a wall. Was it a worker who never clocked out? Or something else drawn to the crackling energy that still lingers in the air? One thing is certain. This place may be dead, but it's far from empty. 9. Perry Lakes Stadium, Floreat. Once filled with roaring crowds and Olympic dreams, Perry Lakes Stadium now lies in ruins. It stands empty, its track cracked, and yet, some say the echoes remain. Built in 1962 for the British Empire and Commonwealth Games, it was meant to celebrate life and victory. But years after it was abandoned, the energy shifted. Locals began hearing cheers at night when no one was there. Others saw lights flicker across the grandstand, as if a race were still being run. In 2013, a jogger passing through the site at dawn claimed he saw a runner on the track, shirtless, barefoot, and glowing faintly in the morning mist. He vanished before reaching the finish line. Drone footage captured around the same time showed shadows moving unnaturally fast across the field, shadows that didn't match the angle of the rising sun. Athletes trained here. Some never left. Now the stadium is silent. But if you listen closely, you might still hear the final footsteps of someone chasing a victory they never lived to see. 10. Gualia Ghost Town, Leonora. In the heart of the desert, where the wind speaks in whispers and the sun bleaches memory from the earth, lies Gualia, a town abandoned, but never truly empty. Once a thriving gold mining settlement, Gualia fell silent almost overnight in 1963 when the mine shut down. Families fled, leaving dishes on tables, beds unmade, as if time had simply stopped. But those who visit say something stayed behind. In 2011, a tourist photographing the old miners' cottages captured more than she expected. The faint outline of a man staring from a broken window, wearing a wide-brimmed hat, face pale and still. No one else was in the house. Caretakers have reported lights flickering in empty buildings, doors slamming in windless silence, and the smell of pipe smoke drifting through the main hall of the old state hotel. One story haunts them all: a miner crushed in a shaft collapse whose body was never recovered. At night, his footsteps echo faintly near the old mine shaft, walking, pausing, waiting. In Gualia, the gold is long gone, but the ghosts still linger, digging through dust and memory. These places may be abandoned, but their stories are very much alive, and so are the spirits that haunt them. Which of these haunted sites would you dare to visit? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more spine-tingling tales from the darkest corners of Australia.